Hello friends, very good morning. Welcome back to 1st July daily Hindu news analysis from LTX classes. Friends, in this particular series of videos, we will be doing the daily Hindu news analysis. We will pick some articles from the daily Hindu newspaper, particularly from the Delhi edition, and then we will carry out a series of news analysis both from the prelims and as well as mains perspective. So generally initially our focus will be mainly on to prelims, and wherever required we will complement it with the mains as well. So because prelims itself is a first hurdle to cross, right? Yes, in this context, now so the process will start with today's agenda. So once again let me remind you, like, we are focusing on Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper. From Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper we will pick the series of articles here and we will analyze them thoroughly. Yes, in this context, let's see the today's agenda. Friends, the first and foremost article, the new criminal laws in force, CRPC, IPC, applicable only for the old cases. This we will cover under GS paper 2. Okay, Indian polity, laws from the government and the policies. And the second, the related article, which is concerns emerge over the BNSS provision on public custody. This is a second important related article. This is also comes under GS paper 2. So the both are related. So we will be discussing both of them so together. Then the next important article, India identified 641 fauna species, 339 taxa of the plants in 2023. Friends, this is associated with GS paper 3, environment and as well as wildlife related article. Yes, perfect. Let's go to the next one. And then an interesting article published in the newspaper, that is called as Should Education Be Brought Back to That of the State List? This is one more important article published, and this we have to cover as part of the GS paper 2 polity. We have to cover this article, friends. And then one international based article, women bombers kill around 18 in the coordinated attacks in Nigeria. This we will cover under GS paper 2 international relations. And finally we will land up with the editorial Court on Climate Right and how India can enforce it. This comes under GS paper 2. Okay, GS paper 2, which is polity, and also GS paper 3, and also which is GS paper 3 climate change. By integrating these two concepts, this article we have to study. Yes friends, these are the articles. The first one we talked about the new criminal laws related article. Then we talked about the important species identified in 2023. Then we should talk about the should education be brought back to state list. And then we talked about Nigeria related news item. And finally we will end up our discussion with respect to climate change. Yes, that's it friends. Now let us see the first important article. New criminal laws in force, CRPC, IPC not applicable. IPC only up for old cases only, applicable only for old cases only. As you are everybody aware, right? From 1st July 2024, new criminal laws came into force. What are those three criminal laws and what are the main important provisions? So we will be discussing down the line. If you see here, for example, the colonial era criminal laws in our country were replaced by, so for your reference we have written them in the neatly notes format, friends, in the point wise, so that you can revise them whenever, if you pick this PDF, you can easily revise all these particular points. So okay, that will make your revision very easy, because without revision our preparation is useless. What will happen if we just go on preparing without revising the old concepts? So we will end up in losing the game. So therefore I strongly suggest you to please revise. Okay, then so the colonial era criminal laws in our country were replaced recently by the following laws. What are those following laws? First of all, Indian Penal Code 1860, which is a very important law, and that was replaced by something called as Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Friends, we assume that you are completely zero to this. So our focus is completely from beginner oriented approach. We don't assume that you already have sufficient knowledge. We assume that you are completely a beginner and you are starting from the zero. So we assume like that, and we will teach, our teaching patterns will be in such a way. That's the reason we will take each and every basic step also. Okay, so the first one is the Indian Penal Code 1860 was replaced by a new law called as Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. And the second important one, the Code of Criminal Procedure 1898 will be replaced by something called as Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, called as BNSS. Okay, Bharatiya Nagarika Suraksha Sanhita, BNSS. And finally, the third law, Indian Evidence Act 1872, which is replaced by something called as the Bharatiya Sakshya, or the BS, Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam, or the Bharatiya Sakshya, simply you can say. So these are the three old colonial laws. These are the old laws, and now they are getting replaced by these new laws. Yes, friends. These are the old laws, and as well as these are the new laws with which they are getting replaced. New laws. Yes. Now the question, so when will they come into force? Friends, they will come into force from today only, that is July 1st, 2024. So they will come into force from July 1st, 2024, that is from today only. So that's the reason this particular article. New criminal laws in force. Okay, CRPC, IPC applicable only for old cases. We will come back to this portion at the last. So now these are the three criminal laws that are there. Now our focus in this particular article was given to this particular article, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which has replaced the Indian Penal Code. So we will look into some of the important provisions that were added to Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Let us continue with the first one. Friends, very, very important. The first and foremost, something called as zero FIR. A provision was added with respect to zero FIR. What is zero FIR? So maybe you are aware about FIR, right? FIR stands for First Information Report. First Information Report. Then what is zero FIR? Zero FIR means basically that you should understand, before going to zero FIR, you should understand the basic background. Then you can better appreciate FIR. For example, if you see any victim of any offense which is committed against a victim, any victim, that can be any women, or it can be then any children, or it can be for that matter any elderly person, or any person. Okay, if they are subjected to a particular offense, if they were the victim of an offense, so then generally where they will go, they have to go to a police station and they have to lodge a complaint. True, right? Yes. So now the issue what has happened is that these people, now everybody, the common man who is not aware of law, who is not aware of this so-called jurisdictions of the different police stations, are facing a lot of difficulty in going to the right police station. So when they are visiting a police station, so they are not sure whether that police station is part of their jurisdiction or not. So as a result, what is happening? So they are hesitating to go to the police station and lodge a complaint. Now this zero FIR says that whatever the police station you can go, wherever you can go to the nearby police station, irrespective of the jurisdiction. That means now we are giving some sort of flexibility to all the people of our country, that whenever you are subjected to any particular offense, and if you are a victim of that particular offense, then in order to lodge your complaint, you can go to any police station irrespective of its jurisdiction. You can go to any police station and you can lodge an FIR. That is called a zero FIR. Zero FIR means, if you see this, a provision for zero FIR allowing the filing of the first information report at any police station regardless of the jurisdiction. So now these people can go to, now you and me even can go to any police station and can lodge an FIR irrespective of its jurisdiction. We need not bother about jurisdiction. Now is it a formal FIR? Actually no. Why? Because from there now to the concerned police station a trigger will be given, and the concerned police station, that means the exact police station through which where the jurisdiction falls into, so will be registering a fresh FIR on this particular case, and they will start the investigation. I hope it is clear. So this is basically given a flexibility to the people where you can go to any police station and you can file an FIR. you need not worry about the jurisdiction. That they will take care. It is their headache. So now they will look into to which jurisdiction this particular offense and as well as this area will come into picture, and accordingly that will be forwarded to that respective police station. So and that respective police station or concerned police station will then file a formal FIR, and then the investigation process will start. Now a new provision which is associated with the zero FIR has been started. Okay, a new provision for zero FIR allowing filing a first information report at any place has been there is a dedicated provision in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita with respect to that. Then second important one, something called as online registration. So all the police complaints have to be registered online registration. There should be an online registration and mandatory videography of the crime scenes for all the heinous crimes. So all the heinous crimes, whatever the crime scenes are there, so there all those crime scenes have to be videographed because they were the evidence to show, and they have to upload them in a portal called as eSakshya portal. They need to be uploaded in the eSakshya portal, so that in order to enhance the transparency in order to enhance the transparency, all the videography of the crime scenes of all the heinous crimes need to be reported in this particular eSakshya portal. That means whoever the police who is in charge of that particular investigation, they have to go to the crime scene and take the videograph, and they have to upload it to this particular eSakshya portal. And also online registration of the police complaints need to be there. And the third important one, now any person need not visit the police station to file a complaint. Here you can see a person can now report the incidents by electronic communication without the need to visit a police station. So there is no point, there is no need to visit a police station, and they can do it. They can report the incidents directly through the electronic communication, through electronic media only they can communicate, and there is no need of visiting to the police station now. That was a third very important point of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita that was brought up. And then comes the fourth important point, is that with another important provision, the judgment related to criminal cases has to come within 45 days. A timeline, dedicated timeline has been given of the completion of trial. Upon the completion of the trial, within 45 days, the judgment has to be rendered so by the courts. This was a hard timeline that was also given, so that in order to avoid the pendency and as well as a delay in the cases. Yes, so zero FIR is one such important concept. So online registrations and as well as the mandatory videography of the crime scenes. Then we can communicate directly through electronic communication. We can report the incidents. Then criminal cases need to come up within, they need to give the judgment within 45 days of the after the trial. And there are other series of provisions also here. If you can see, we have covered the zero FIR, we have covered the online registration, then we talked about electronic communication, then we talked about the judgment within 45 days. Then there is another thing. There are provisions related to false promise of marriage, and there is a provision related to the gang rape of minors, and as well as the mob lynching provisions as well. And also there was one more one more provision, right? Statement of a women rape victim will be recorded by a woman police officer in the presence of her guardian or relative. So whenever there was any rape victim, so then her statements will be recorded by the police officer, women police officer specifically, that too in the presence of her guardian or the relative need to be present while recording the statements. So then a death sentence or a life imprisonment was awarded to the gang rape of a minor. These are some of the important new things that have been added in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which have replaced the Indian Penal Code of 1860. Clear, friends? I hope you have understood. These are the main provisions. So this is very important from the both prelims and as well as mains perspective, because they might ask you like what are the main highlights or main features which have been newly added to the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. So in that fashion we can expect a question, and for sure in UPSC 2025 we can expect one more question prelims as well. Maybe that can be on Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or it can be on the Bharatiya Nyagarik Suraksha Sanhita, or it can be on the Bharatiya Sakshya. So any of the laws you can expect a question on them. So you need to be very thorough on these particular three laws. And if you address the second part, CRPC and IPC applicable only for the old cases. Old cases means you should understand that since these new laws came into force on July 1st, 2024, that doesn't mean that the old laws will be completely scrapped. So the old laws will also continue. Why? Because there are so many pendency of cases are there. So in order to until all the cases are completely done, so the old laws will also continue. That is what here it is mentioned. If you see this point here, the IPC and CRPC will run concurrently along with the new laws, as the several cases are still pending in the courts, and some crimes that took place before July 1st that are reported later will also have to be registered under the IPC only. Here you should understand one more point, that so for example, if any crime that was done before July 1st the crime was done, so July 1st the crime was done, just a minute, yes, so the crime done before July 1st, but it was reported after July 1st. Now, under which particular law it has to be registered? Whether is it the old law or the new law? Because it was done committed before July 1st, it need to be registered under the old law only. That is what this statement is making. So that means you should understand that any crime which was committed after July 1st will be registered under the new laws. Yes, friends. So finally the conclusion is the three laws came into force. Those three laws have replaced the earlier colonial era laws. Those are Indian Penal Code 1860 was replaced by Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. The Code of Criminal Procedure 1898 was replaced by Bharatiya Nagarika Suraksha Sanhita, and then Indian Evidence Act 1872 was replaced by Bharatiya Sakshya. Okay, these are the three important laws that have been replaced. And what are the new features? The first one is zero FIR, and the second one is online registration, and the third one is the mandatory videography of the crime scenes, and they need to be uploaded to eSakshya portal. And then new report of the incidents by electronic communication, no need without visiting the police station. So then judgment in criminal cases should be given within 45 days of the completion of the trial. And there are other related provisions also with respect to mob lynching and as well as a gang rape of the minor, etc. These are the other important crime related things that were there in the news. This is all about the first important article that you need to be aware. Can we go to the next article? Yes. As far as the next article is concerned, again it is basically a continuation to the first article only, because the concerns emerge over the BNSS provision on the police custody. This is related to the second law. The first article completely talked about, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Now the second article is talking about Bharatiya Nagarika Suraksha Sanhita, called as BNSS, Bharatiya Nagarika Suraksha Sanhita. BNSS. Let me explain you for a while. Let me make you understand the background. Then you will be very comfortable. So this is what is BNSS. What is BNSS? The Bharatiya Nagarika Suraksha Sanhita. Bharatiya Nagarika Suraksha Sanhita. Okay. For example, let us assume that a person A has been arrested by the police. Okay, A is a person and who was arrested by police. Now he need to be within 24 hours. He need to be presented before the magistrate. Within 24 hours, he need to be presented before the magistrate. Yes. Now, there are two options, like either he can be given under judicial custody, he'll be under judicial custody, or if the police request, he will be under the police custody. So that means if the police have requested that this particular A is required for our investigation purpose, his presence is required, he need to be under our custody. If the police have requested it, and then the magistrate may give him the police custody for a couple of days. As per the existing rule, as per the existing CRPC, any person, the maximum number of days is the 15 days max only we have to grant the police custody generally. Only 15 days. The maximum period of granting the police custody is the 15 days. That need not be always 15 days. That can be, like, for example, it can be 3 days, it can be 4 days. Also, the magistrate can grant the police custody. Okay, from there he will be under judicial custody. I hope it is clear. Yes. Now, that was the first condition. First condition is 15 days is the maximum. And the second condition is, this 15 days will start from the day of arrest. From the day of arrest. So, for example, arrested. And from the day of this particular arrest, which is day 1, and up till day 15th. Day 15th. So, up till day 15th, in between only, these days only, so the police can request the police custody. The police can request the police custody. That means they can request the police custody only within the first 15 days of his arrest. I hope it is clear. So that means, let us assume that a person got arrested today, which is July 1st, 2024. Now only up till July 15th, 2024, roughly. Okay, for the first 15 days only, he can the police can request the police custody, and after, from day 16th, he will be in judicial custody. You should understand one more point, that may not be that, for example, if this particular person can be under judicial custody from day 1 also. Okay, if the police have requested, then only this particular person will be given the police custody. That too, it need to be given only in the first 15 days only. I hope it is clear up till now. So there are two important points from the CRPC. What are those 2 points? How many days maximum the police custody can be given? It is only 15 days. Second one, when the police custody will be given? It is only in the first 15 days period only that police custody should be given. Okay, and after that only he will continue in the judicial custody only. If the police have not requested to have him under their custody, then from day 1 only he will be under judicial custody only. Please be very clear, friends. Now you should understand that the new law, what the new law has said, that is the BNSS law, right? The BNSS law has said that this 15 days period need not be in the first 15 days only. This 15 days period, whatever the max period is there, right, it need not be in the first 15 days only. That means it can be given even after day 16th, day 17th also. Then that is the first point. And the second point is, 15 days may not be in a single stretch, need not be in a single stretch. It need not be given. It can be given all or in the part ways. Means in parts. For example, if this particular A has been arrested, and on day 1 the police have requested him that, Are Baba, we want, my lord, we want this particular person to be under police custody for a couple of days. Then assume that he has been granted the police custody for 3 days. So on the day of arrest, 2-3 days he will be under police custody. Now from there, where he will go? He will go to judicial custody. From there he will go to the judicial custody. And again, now if the police come back again after a couple of days, let's say after 7 days, and again ask that, so my lord, we want this particular person to be again under our police custody, then again grant 3 more days or 4 more days. I hope you understood, right? So that means the police custody is not restricted only for the first 15 days. It was basically extended to the other period as well, completely for the first 40 days or 60 days, depending upon the offense. So he can be called for police custody multiple times. That is what is the new law, that is the BNSS has proposed. So this is what is going to happen once these particular laws are getting implemented. So now the 2 conditions, whatever those 2 conditions, 15 days max condition will remain. But that 15 days condition may not be only in the first 15 days only. That can be split into multiple ways, like 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. In multiple instances, it can be split up into. Now the activists and as well as legal experts, these people are protesting against this particular provision. Why? Because it will definitely violate the fundamental rights of the people. How it was? So the bail, for example, if a particular person is and now requested the bail, and if he is under the judicial custody, so then maybe the court may grant him the bail. But however, when the court is granting the bail, if the police come back again and say and ask that we want this person to be under judicial custody, under police custody, so then immediately, so maybe the bail may be suspended or the bail may not be so given. Basically they are saying that these provisions will definitely violate the fundamental rights of the people. The concerns emerge over the BNSS provision on police custody. That is what the important point you should see. Yes friends, I hope you have understood this provision, right? If you see this point, the main point of concern is let me write, I have written all the important points here, you can see here. The main point of concern is the change in the police custody rules. The police custody rules have been changed. So there are two things, right? One is police custody and the other is judicial custody. Earlier, so that means earlier the CRPC, in the CRPC, the police custody was permitted for a maximum period of 15 days. Only for a maximum period of 15 days, and that too it can be sought only in the first 15 days of arrest. So once a person is arrested, and from that day only, the first 15 days only, he can be given to the police custody, and after that he will be under the judicial custody. Yes, now this is earlier, this is under CRPC condition, but now the BNSS, that is the new law, the Bharatiya Nagarika Suraksha Sanhita, allows that police custody can be authorized in all or in parts at any time during the initial 40 or the 60 days period, depending upon the offense that he has committed. Depending upon the offense, so either in the 40 or 60 days period, it can be implemented multiple times. So that will be definitely a strict violation, gross violation of the fundamental rights. So this is what is the protest, this is what is the concern of the activists here. You can see here, you can see the new law which is set to replace the CRPC allows the police custody beyond the first 15 days of arrest. Legal and civil rights experts say this is a retrograde step opposite to the fundamental right of the citizens. Yes friends, these are the two important articles from the exam point of view that you need to be thorough with. Okay, the first important article is regarding the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, and the second important is the change in the police custody rules with respect to the Bharatiya Nagarika Suraksha Sanhita. Okay, if you haven't understood yet, please watch it again, like from the beginning of this particular article. Definitely you will come back, you will understand. Pretty simple friends, only 2 points. Maximum police custody period is 15 days. Okay, and that too, that 15 days has to start from the beginning of his arrest only. These are the two important points. Now now what is the new rule? Earlier it used to be that 15 days used to be in a whole way. That means that 15 days used to be in the whole, only in as a single instance only that has to be given. For example, if the court has granted him, like for example 3 days or 4 days or 7 days, that's it, that used to be. But now what has happened? So now the BNSS is saying here it can be imposed in the multiple instances. So like it can be done for 3 days once, and again judicial custody, and again 4 days once, again judicial custody. So that what happens, that because of that the bail related to the bail related right will be suspended, because the activists are saying that the police will take the advantage of these particular loopholes and will try to restrict the right to bail of these particular accused people. So that is what the protesters are saying, and let's say down the line what will happen. Yes, this is the second important article from the exam point of view that you need to be thorough with. Then comes the third article. India identified 641 fauna species, 339 taxa of the plants in the year 2023. So okay, so new species have been identified, both the plant and as well as animal species, that you need to know from the GS paper 3 wildlife environment related perspective. So I have listed out the important species. The first and foremost species that was identified is the new turmeric species has been identified, friends. It is known as the curcuma cacachingens. was discovered recently in the Kakching province of the Manipur. A new turmeric species was identified. The first important discovery that has happened in the year 2023. And the second important thing is the Assistacia venvi, which is a flowering plant which is discovered in the West Bengal. This was the second important. Okay, one turmeric species related discovery, and the one flowering plant related discovery, and the third one is the Himalayan Capra himalayensis. This was the animal species related discovery, and the third one Miniopterus srini, which is a bat species that was identified in the Karnataka. Okay, so the Miniopterus srini, this is the fourth important animal species that was identified. So these four species are there, friends. Recent discovery, as part of the recent discovery, they will ask you like the question like, so the Miniopterus srini is often seen recently in the news. What is it related to? Is it an insect? Is it a bat? Is it a butterfly? So likewise they will be asking you. It is a bat species, and that was found in the Karnataka. And we have the Capra himalayensis, and then we have Assistacia venvi, which is a flowering plant, and then we have a new turmeric species, which is the curcuma kakchingens, which is discovered in the Kakching in Manipur. So these are the new species which have been discovered. And similarly, a new portal was also brought up by Environment Minister, that is known as the Fauna of India Checklist portal. Very, very important portal. The Union Environment Minister has rolled out a portal called as the Fauna of India Checklist portal, which is the first of its kind. A new portal was rolled out. This portal is providing you information on all about 1 lakh animal species which are distributed across the India, whatever the animal species which are there, around 1 lakh plus species. So the information related to all these species will be mentioned in this particular portal. Okay, and also endemic, threatened, and even the scheduled species were also have been included in this particular list. That's it about with respect to this article. From the exam point of view, you need to be thorough with these species names and where they have been identified: turmeric species, flowering plant species, Himalayan ibex related species, and then bat species. And you should also be clear with this portal called as the Fauna of India Checklist portal. So these are some of the important points from the exam point of view from this article, friends. Then let us go to the fourth article. Should education be brought to the state list? One of the important thing that has happened. Should education be brought to the state list? Now we have seen the NEET related, exam related controversies, and as well as the paper leak and all the important things. The story starts from the 7th schedule. I hope you are already aware, 7th schedule. Even if you are not aware, you should understand that there are 12 schedules are there in our constitution. 12 schedules are there in our constitution. Originally we have 8 schedules, and then later added were the 4 schedules. Total 12 schedules. 8 plus 4, 12 schedules are there in total. In total there are 12 schedules, and originally we have the 4 schedules, and then later we have the new 4 schedules were added. Originally 8, later 4 were added. Okay, now the point of discussion is all about 7th schedule. 7th schedule talks about 3 lists. The first important list is the union list. Union list basically means that the list of subjects on which only the parliament can make a law. Only the parliament can make a law. Okay, union list means the list of subjects on which only the parliament can make a law. For example can be defense. On defense only the parliament will make a law, right? Which is a national level subject. So that was the reason it was mentioned under the union list. And the second one is state list. As far as state list is concerned, the list of subjects on which only the state legislature can make a law. Only the state legislature can make a law. For example, it can be police, it can be public health, it can be sanitation, etc. And then finally we have the third list, which is the concurrent list. What is concurrent list? The list of subjects on which both parliament and state legislature can make a law. Yes, that's it, friends. So there are 3 lists under the 7th schedule. Under the first list, we call it as union list, and on the union list, only the parliament can make a law, okay, at the central level. And the state list means only the concerned state legislature, that means which includes state legislative assembly and as well as legislative council, will make a law. And the third one is concurrent list, the list of subjects on which both parliament and state legislature can make a law. Okay, that means in concurrent list, the both have common things. Both parliament and the state legislature can make a law on those subjects. Apart from that, we also have one more power called as residuary power. What is residuary power? Residuary power means, for example, tomorrow, if any new subject comes into picture, which is not there in the union list, not there in the state list, and not there in the concurrent list, so then in that context, who will make a law on that new subject? That's the biggest question mark. So then the Constitution of India have addressed this question by saying that, so all those comes under residuary powers, and residuary power lies with the parliament. Residuary power lies with the Parliament of India. Who of the following has the residuary power under the Constitution of India? The residuary power lies with the Parliament of India. Who has the power on state list? State legislature has the power. Concurrent list, both Parliament and state legislature has the power. Union list, only the Parliament has the power. So these are some of the important points that you have to understand the basic background. Now coming to the education. Education comes under which list? Is it union list, state list, or concurrent list? Education is actually originally part of the education is now the part of the concurrent list. Education is now the part of the concurrent list. But not originally, friends. Originally, the education used to be part of the state list only. But later, through some constitutional amendment, it was brought up to the concurrent list, so that to ensure both parliament and the state legislative assembly can make a law. Now the question, through which constitutional amendment a committee was constituted by the central government, which is known as Swaran Singh Committee. Swaran Singh Committee. So this Swaran Singh Committee has recommended that so to include the education subject, to transfer the education subject from state list to concurrent list. It is the Swaran Singh Committee which has recommended to transfer the education subject from the state list, which is earlier there, to that of the concurrent list. And the central government has accepted this, and through something called as 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, this particular bill, which was transferred from the state list to concurrent list. Yes. So now the question is, since it is there in the concurrent list, now who can make a law on it? It can be, now a law can be made on by both the parliament and as well as the state legislative assembly. True, right? Yes. Now the question is, basically now here the author is saying that since both now is it the time, should education be now again brought back to that of the state list? So that means to reverse the 42nd Amendment Act again, to bring the state list to that of the, from concurrent list to that of the state list. This is what is the author's point of view. Author is saying that there is a dire need now to get back the education again from concurrent list to that of the state list. So for that he has given some arguments, but before going to the arguments, he has first explained the what is the background, like how it has been done. He started with by saying that there is something called as the Government of India Act 1935, which is an important piece of legislation during the British rule, created a federal structure for the first time in our polity. The legislative subjects were distributed between the federal legislature, that is the present day union, and the provinces, which is present day states. So he is saying that so the Government of India Act 1935 have divided the legislative subjects, distributed those subjects into the union level and as well as to that of the state level. Then education, which is an important public good, was kept under the provincial list. That means as part of the state list only it has been kept. After independence also this continued, and education was part of the state list under the distribution of powers. So before independence only the education was actually kept under the provincial list, which is nothing but today's state list. After independence also, okay, we have continued education to be under the state list only. Then something has happened. Then what has happened? During the emergency period 1975-76, the Congress party constituted an important committee called as Swaran Singh Committee to provide recommendations for amendment to the constitution. One of the recommendations of this committee was to place education in the concurrent list in order to evolve the all India policies on this subject. As I said, pointed out, right, as the Swaran Singh committee has recommended that it need to be kept under the state list. So it is the Swaran Singh committee which has recommended that. So since this particular education as a subject is there in the state list only the state legislative assemblies can make a law. So the parliament is unable to do the laws on this particular subject. So therefore there is a dire need so that we can have an all India education based policies. So that will be more uniform in nature. This is what is the recommendation of the Swaran Singh committee. This recommendation was given to the government, and then government have accepted this particular recommendation, and through 42nd Amendment Act. See the next point. This was implemented through 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act by shifting the education from state list to that of the concurrent list. Friends, earlier education used to be in the state list. So okay, even before independence also, even later independence also, that got continued. But however, upon the recommendations from the Swaran Singh Committee of 1976, so now the subject of education as such is moved from the which list to which list? State list to that of the concurrent list. So that means now when it was brought to concurrent list, both the parliament and as well as the state legislative assemblies can make the law on it. But he is saying that there was no detailed rationale that was provided for this switch, and the amendment was ratified by various states without the adequate debate. So he is saying that even though for this shift the government have not given any valid grounds, like why there is a need to shift this particular thing, the government have not given, and even states have also ratified it without any debate. Then the Janata Party power came to by Morarji Desai, that came to power after emergency, passed the 44th Constitutional Amendment 1978 to reverse many of the controversial changes made through 42nd Amendment. One of these amendments that was passed in the Lok Sabha but not in the Rajya Sabha was to bring back education to the state list. So everybody knows it, right? 42nd Amendment 1976 is also known as the mini constitution, and which has brought so many changes to that of the constitution. But however, later through 44th Amendment Act 1978, so the many changes were again reversed, and one of those changes is also includes now getting back again the education subject from state list to from the concurrent list to getting back to again state list. An attempt was also being made during that time, but however that was passed only in the Lok Sabha, and that was not passed in the Rajya Sabha. As a result, even today, so this education as a subject is present in which list? It is present in the concurrent list. Yes. Now the author is pointing about some international practices, like in the other countries, like for example United States of America, in Germany, in Canada, where under whose disposal education as a subject is there. He is pointing to this particular point. He is saying that In the United States of America, the state and local governments set the overall educational standards, mandate the standardized tests, and supervise the colleges and universities. The federal education department's functions primarily include policies for this thing. In Canada, education is completely managed by the provinces, that means states. In Germany also, the constitution vests the legislative powers for education with the landers, which is nothing but states. In South Africa, on the other hand, education is governed by two national departments for school and higher education. So the provinces of the country have their own education departments for implementing policies of the national departments and dealing with the local issues. So the majority of the countries have education as part of their state subject. So now he is saying that by pointing to the international practices, and he is also saying that why it was brought, why the government is reluctant to have the education under state subject. Why? Because it's because that the state governments are often end up with the corruption, and as well as they lack the professionalism in order to carry out this education as a subject, carry forward this education as a subject. Then the author is criticizing that, okay, now let us assume that if it was brought to concurrent list, so now education will be completely reformed. So does that happen? Now if you see this NTA, National Testing Agency, which have recently conducted this exam, the NEET examination, and as well as all, now it getting corrected with, getting mixed with the what you call corruption and all these allegations. So there is no point in keeping the education under the concurrent list. This is what is the other's point of view. Okay, what can be the way forward? The arguments in favor of education is that concurrent list include all these things. And finally, the important points are, considering the need for these things, this would enable them to frame tailor-made policies for testing these things. Okay, there needs to be a productive discussion towards moving education back to that of the state list. This would enable them to frame the tailor-made policies for syllabus, testing and admissions for higher education, including professional courses like medicine and as well as engineering. Regulatory mechanisms for higher education on the continue to be governed by central institutions like National Medical Commission, University Grants Commission, and All India Council for the Technical Education. Yes, basically here the author is talking about that it need to be brought back to the state list, so that, and also the state governments should be given the enough autonomy, enough power over these particular laws. This is what is the point of this discussion. Definitely you can expect a question, because you can expect a question like, considering the recent allegation of paper leaks and as well as other irregularities, so do you really feel that the education as a subject should be brought from concurrent list to back to state list? Give your opinion. This will definitely be a question, friends. Similarly, in the prelims perspective also, consider the following statements about three lists, or union list, state list, and concurrent list. Education was a subject which is originally there in the state list, later moved to concurrent list through which of the following constitutional amendments? That might be a question. So okay, and also through which committee's recommendations the education has been moved from the concurrent list, from the state list to concurrent list. Anyway, you can expect a question on this particular aspect. I hope you have understood this article. Clear, right? Yes. That's it, friends. From this article, you need to be thorough with what are this seventh schedule. So what are the three lists, union list, state list, and concurrent list? What are residuary powers? With whom the residuary power lie with? And then what is this Forensic Committee's recommendation, and how education has been moved from which list to which list, and through which constitutional amendment that was done? And then now what is the protest? People are saying, they are asking again to get back the education onto that of the state list. So these are some of the important points from the exam point of view from this particular article, friends. That's it about this article. Let's go to the next article. Yes. Women bombers kill around 18 in the coordinated attacks in Nigeria. Yes, so the women recently, suicide bombers were there. So by targeting a wedding, they have killed around 18 people. But from the UPSC point of view, we need not bother about like how many people got killed and all the things. What we are more bothered about is, there was one important militant group is there that is known as Boko Haram Islamic terrorist group. You need to be thorough with this particular grouping, friends. Boko Haram Islamic terrorist group is very dangerous group actually from the Nigeria. You can expect a question on this. So, and you can see this is the map of the Nigeria. Okay, we will get back to the map once again just by reading some 2 to 3 important points about Boko Haram. If you see Boko Haram, yes, Boko Haram is a militant group. okay, in the northern Nigeria. Generally they will ask you with which country it is associated with. It is actually with Nigeria it is associated with. That has recently killed around tens and thousands of people, and it even displaced more than 3 million people. Okay, very dangerous group from the Nigeria, which is Boko Haram. These Boko Haram militants mainly inhabit in the northern states of Nigeria, specifically Yobe, Kano, Bauchi, Borno, etc. So these are the different areas where you can where this particular Boko Haram base is mainly there. They were inhabited by mainly in these areas. And this group was founded in the year 2002. This group was founded in the year 2002. So I thought not to give more flood you with the information. These are the bare minimum points that you are expected to know. Then this is one part of the story. Then the other part is geographical perspective. So Nigeria is an African country that everybody knows it. Now UPSC is slowly asking you the world geography based questions. For example, recently it has asked about Ukraine, it has asked about the bordering countries, what are the countries which borders with all the, so whichever the countries which are there in the news, so it is generally tending to ask the which bordering countries. If you talk about Nigeria, so the countries which borders with Nigeria are on top of Nigeria, that is on the northern side we have Niger, and then we have the northeastern side we have Chad, and then on the eastern side we have the Cameroon, and then we have the Benin is the western country. So these are the important border countries of the Nigeria. There you can expect a question, which of the following countries borders with Nigeria? You can expect a question like that. So where it is a pretty simple, if you are aware of it. Nigeria is located in the western side of the Africa. The western side of African portion is Nigeria. It shares borders with the following countries. For example, Niger in the north, Chad in the northeast, Cameroon in the east, and the Benin in the west. Nigeria's economy is it's not in the world, it is, yes, Africa. Nigeria's economy is the largest in the Africa. So these are some of the important points with respect to Nigeria you are expected to know. And from the with respect to militant group, which is Boko Haram, is the other important fact that you need to be thorough with. Yes friends, so these are the some of the important points with respect to this particular article. And finally, the editorial of today, court on climate right and how India can enforce it. But before going to this, just revise for a while. We'll revise. So the first and foremost, we talked about the Boko Haram militant group, and then we talked about Nigeria's bordering countries. So Nigeria is a western where the Nigeria is located on the western side of the Africa, and with which countries it shares the border. So if you see the map, then you have to read the geography only through map. So on Nigeria you have the Chad on the northeastern side, Cameroon on the eastern side, and then we have Benin on the western side, and Niger on the northern side. So these are the countries which border the Nigeria. So two things, the Boko Haram Islamist group you need to be thorough with, and the second one is the Nigeria based geographical location you need to be thorough with. Then we talked about should education be brought back to that of the state list is the question that the author is pointing out, where we talked about what are the different types of schedules are there and which schedule deals with these three lists. What are those three lists? Union list, state list, and as well as concurrent list. Who can make a law on those respective subject in that particular list? And then we talked about the residuary powers. What are residuary powers? Who has the residuary power? Okay, under which article? It is article number 248 of the Constitution. So and then we also have which committee has recommended. It is Forensic Committee has recommended. What it has recommended? To move the education from the state list to that of the concurrent list it has recommended, and that was done through which constitutional amendment? Through 42nd Constitutional Amendment 1976. And as a result, what has been done? It has been moved from state list to that of the concurrent list. So okay, these are some of the important points from this particular article. If we move forward, then we talked about the important types of species, turmeric species, then we talked about the flowering plant, Himalayan ibex, and then we have the bat related species also been identified. And a new portal called as the Fauna of India checklist portal, we talked about this particular portal. Then if you move still more forward, we talked about the what is police custody, what is judicial custody. So okay, what this BNSS law is saying, what is the status before it, we have talked about all these things. Then before that we talked about what are the three important laws so that has been recently come up into force, and what are the main features of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. We have talked about that particular article as well. Yes friends, these are the very very important articles from the exam point of view. These articles we have picked up from the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, and finally we will close this particular session with the editorial discussion. In brief, some important points with respect to editorial we will discuss, and once that is clear, we will close this session for today. Yes, the court on climate right and how India can enforce it. So some important thing has happened here. If you see, the Supreme Court of India, Supreme Court of India. Yes, friends, Supreme Court of India is actually the highest constitutional court in our country. It is the highest constitutional court, okay, in India. True, right? And it is the guardian of the protector of constitution and also protector of the Constitution of India and also the fundamental rights of the people. The fundamental rights of the people. Fundamental rights of its citizens. It is the duty of the Supreme Court of India to protect it. Recently, the Supreme Court has come up with a very landmark judgment that is known as Ranjit Singh versus Union of India case. Ranjit Singh versus Union of India case. This was very very important case, friends. Ranjit Singh versus Union of India case. In this case, so the Supreme Court have said that the right to have healthy environment, right to healthy environment, which should be free from adverse effects of climate change. So now if you see this climate change, it is a happening phenomenon right now. Everybody, we are suffering in the form of increased number of cyclones, heat waves, and as well as other natural disasters, increased temperatures. So everybody, we are facing the effects of climate change. Now the Supreme Court is saying that everybody has a right to have access to right to healthy environment which is free from the adverse effect of climate change was declared as a fundamental right. It was declared as a fundamental right, and the base is the Constitution have said that, the Supreme Court has said that, so the base flows from article number 21 and as well as article number 14. What is article number 21? Right to life. And what is article number 14? Which is right to equality. Okay. So now the Supreme Court is saying in the Ranjit Singh versus Union of India case that everybody has a fundamental right known as right to healthy environment which is free from adverse effects of climate change, and the source of it is under article number 21 and as well as article number 14 of the Constitution. So this is very important from the UPSC perspective, because in the last year itself, so Supreme Court, UPSC have asked in 2024 one important question. I think you are everybody are already aware. Right to privacy. Right to privacy, according to Supreme Court of India, right to privacy is a fundamental right under which of the following articles? And the options are article number 21, article number 17, okay, article number 24, something like that. And what is the answer? It is article number 21, which is right to life. Likewise, in the next year UPSC examination, definitely you can expect a question. Right to healthy environment free from adverse impact of climate change was declared as a fundamental right by the Supreme Court on the basis of which of the following articles? Article 21 and as well as 14. Or they might ask you, in which of the following landmark cases Supreme Court have declared right to healthy environment free from adverse effects of climate change as a fundamental right? It is Ranjit Singh versus Union of India case. So now here the author is saying that this is definitely a landmark judgment in our country. So why? Because now the climate litigation will start. So the non-governmental organizations, civil rights organizations, civil society related organizations, now all these will start demanding that we need to have an access to healthy environment. It is a duty of the government to provide us to have a healthy environment where we are completely free from adverse effects of the climate change. This is what is the point that the author is making, and the author is also trying to make some different important points. Let me brief you without without reading the line by line reading. Let me have some small understanding. So here the author is basically saying that the two important approaches he is suggesting. First of all, he is saying that, see, article number 14 and as well as article number 21 of the constitution, by using these two articles, so right to life and right to equality also includes right to have a healthy environment which is free from the adverse effects of climate change. So this is what is the Supreme Court have made, and this will be definitely a landmark judgment. This is what is the other's point of view. And then he talked about that we have two different approaches. So the first approach is like a judicial way of protection, judicial way of protection, and the second one is legislative protection. So that means this climate change law should be legislative protection. That means the parliament have to enact a law, because Supreme Court have also admitted that there is no umbrella law, okay, holistically in our country with respect to addressing the climate change. So therefore even Supreme Court is also saying that there is a dire need to bring out such a particular law in our country. And the author has pointed out two important approaches. The first one is the regulatory mechanism. Now we want a law, regulatory law and as well as enabling law. So the author has pointed out two important laws. The first one is a regulatory law and the second one is enabling law. So for regulatory law, he given the example of UK, and for enabling law, he has given the example of Kenya. So the enabling law should be in such a way that we need to take care of development. At the same time, we should also be climate resilient. So that means we should take on board the development also and as well as climate resilient also. It need to be. We need to follow this particular approach of Kenya's enabling law. This is what is the author's point of view. This is the first recommendation, the idea, broad idea that the author has suggested. And the second important idea that the author has suggested is that we need to respect this federalism and we should equip the states. We should equip the states with more financial resources and also with respect to the more information, because the majority of the subjects, like for example agriculture, okay, urban policy, all these subjects are with the states only. So now there is a dire need that we need to give the financial resources and as well as the information to the states. Now the center should act as a catalyst, so, okay, and should be a supportive mechanism in enacting an enabling law like Kenya. This is the author's point of view. And from the exam point of view, what is important is this judgment is very, very important, friends. And what this judgment have declared, this is another important point. So then under which articles the base was taken, that is article 21 and as well as article number 14. This is another important point. And then what are the main recommendations? So he is saying that the federalism need to be respected and the states need to be equipped with the more power, more financial resources and as well as information. And also we have to have a enabling law like Kenya, where we are taking care of development plus climate resilient. It need to be climate resilient. So that means we should not compromise one thing for the another thing. This is what is the point of view of the author in this article. Yes, that's it, friends, for this particular session. I hope you have understood. Please like the video if you like it, and at the same time we will have a daily question based on prelims where you need to answer in the comments if you know the answer. Today's question is: Boko Haram is the militant group that has killed tens of thousands of people and displaced more than 3 million people. He is often seen in the news. He is related to which of the following countries? Iraq, Yemen, Saudi Arabia and Nigeria. If you know the answer, please comment it, friends. Please comment it the answer, and so that gives me an indication and a boost that you are here with me up till now. And also, if you like the video, please like it, because that will definitely be a boosting and as well as encouraging for me to do more these type of videos and to bring more these type of videos from our LTX classes. Yes. And if you love it, please share it and subscribe the video, friends. Please like the video. Yes, we will meet again tomorrow, the 2nd July Hindu news analysis. We will go with the beginner oriented approach only. We will begin from the zero and we will make you hero. This is what is the pattern here. Yes, friends. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with me up till here. We will meet again tomorrow with the 2nd July daily Hindu news analysis. Stay tuned. Please like the video, subscribe to our video channel so that you will get the videos in time. Yes. Okay. Thank you, friends. All the best. Happy learning. Bye bye.